All right, so we've spent the last 5 nights here at the JW Marriott Maldives, and it's been amazing. When you say, like we've had, the weather's been a little hit and miss, but I think aside from that, though, this place made up for it, and it's a beautiful place regardless of whenever you come here. So we just wanted to do a little bit of a review of. Mainly, there's some key categories we will go through. We'll go through like the arrival process, because that is a big deal when it comes to the Maldives. It's the middle of nowhere, so you need to...
Getting here is a whole thing.
So there's that. There is the villa, which we have actually done a whole tour of this, which we'll put a link for that video in the description. There are just the general resort amenities in the resort itself. The restaurants, which is a key part. And then the final one is just the overall service. And then we'll give you a little... overall rating of what we thought. So let's start with the arrival process.
Yeah, so when you come to the JW Marriott Maldives, you get off your plane at Malé Airport, you go through immigration and a little bit of security, like the lightest security in the world. You get your bags, and then you are immediately met by a representative from the resort. He was fantastic. He was super nice. He took our bags. He got us our seaplane boarding pass. He was holding up the little sign. He took us to we had a private car that took us from Malé Airport to the seaplane terminal, which was like a 10-minute drive, not even, maybe 5 minutes. Got us through there, took us upstairs to the main lounge. There was a beautiful main lounge. We did not get to actually experience the lounge, even though it was lovely, because he was like, oh, well, your plane is boarding, so you can either hang out here for a bit and like use the bathroom and like get a drink, or we can just go to the terminal. And we're like, well, just go to the terminal. Went to the terminal. You just basically sit in a room, and then whenever it's your turn, they call you. And so the same guy escorted us from the room to a final handoff with like seaplane reps, and then they escorted us out of the airport onto the seaplane, and then we took the seaplane from Malé to the JW Marriott. It was about 50 minutes. And it was so beautiful. As I said in the tour video, highly recommend Dramamine or Relief Band or something like that if you get a little motion sick, especially if you are coming in monsoon season. There was turbulence, and the landing was a little interesting. But overall, just having that representative, and I wish I remembered his name, just basically shepherded us. I think through that entire process.
I was
made
amazed.
It really easy.
I was amazed at how smooth that was. Like I thought it was going to be a bit more of a process, because like there's, we had to get like boarding passes for the seaplane. We had to like get the luggage taken like for us. But this representative he sort of took us. He like ushered us to the front of the check-in line, and he weighed the bags for us, and we didn't have to do anything. And then so that made it super easy. And I think the other part of the arrival is like once you get here, that's like we arrived at our flight arrived at, it was something like 7 a.m. So we were here very early. By the time we got the seaplane, it was probably about 8 or 8:30 by the time we arrived at the resort. And so everyone comes and greets you. They're all playing like drums. And they're we kind of talked about this in our other video, but it was really cool, a way to welcome you into the resort. But we were here so early that our room wasn't ready. Understandable. It was like 8:30 in the morning. But they sort of let us know that, but they were like, you can use all of the amenities at the resort. Like you can, our butler drove us around the resort, gave us a tour, which took a little bit of time to sort of get our bearings. And then we could because we had the all-inclusive package as well, we could get lunch on that first day, which was fantastic. And then we just sort of sat on a beach while we waited for our room to be ready, which is probably the coolest way to wait for a hotel room, right? Like, I feel like that's always a bother, right? In most situations, because it's, I gotta walk around this city, or I gotta do something else in my time, but you can take full advantage of the resort, which is awesome. So I would say, like, as in a whole arrival process from airport to resort, I would give this a 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5. Yeah, they made it really easy. The welcome was lovely. We were actually, because we're very shy people, actually, we don't like a whole lot of attention. We were really nervous that it would feel kind of overwhelming having all these people greet you. And I don't know if we were just traumatized from our plane landing, and cause the dock was like going like this, and it was a bit of a thing. So I don't know if we were just kind of in a little bit of shock from that, but it didn't feel overwhelming at all. Everybody was really nice.
No, it was.
It was very cool. It was lovely.
For sure.
5 out of 5.
Yeah. All right. The next one is the villa itself. So we stayed in a overwater sunset room.
Yes.
So there are also sunrise rooms. They're exactly the same. They just face a different direction. There are some other rooms, but in terms of the one we stayed at, we did give, as we said earlier, we did give a full tour, so we didn't have to talk about everything.
Yeah.
But I would say this was a great villa. It lived up to sort of my expectations of it. It's, you know, you have everything here you need, you know, as you can see out here. There's like your own balcony, like deck area with couches and a pool, and then your own like steps into the ocean, which we didn't get to use too much because of the weather, but it was there. And if you're here like when it's much calmer, I think that's super handy.
Yeah.
I would say like there's nothing wrong with this room at all. I wouldn't say it's like perfect, but it's got sort of everything right. There's a couple of little things like the bathtub was a little weird and a little quirky to get right.
Yeah, I think just the hot water pressure isn't quite where it needs to be, which is like, this is really like looking for things to nitpick.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to mention, we are here in monsoon season.
Yeah.
I can't emphasize that enough. We did twice, the power and the aircon worked, but twice the outlets tripped.
They were just like
so they had to come. It was super easy.
They had to
just
flip the switch or something.
Text our butler, and he sent somebody, and there's a little maintenance thing outside, and they just flipped it for us. Super easy, not a big deal. That did happen twice.
Yeah.
And then the other piece, again, we had monsoon winds for about 18 hours nonstop. So like hurricane force winds, if you're from the US, for 18 hours. A couple boards on our back deck did start to peel up. Again, we just texted our butler, maintenance came out, hammered them back in. No harm, no foul. So I can't really blame the resort for a hurricane, like a typhoon, like that is, they have no control over that. I will say the maintenance coming in fixed everything.
They were very quick, so that solved every problem. Like if there were any problems in the room, it was solved almost instantly, which sort of makes it, it makes up for all of that. But yeah, I think this room had everything. It had like, coffee and tea facilities. The bed was comfy.
Yeah.
The temperature in here is really nice. It's really humid outside. You could even open these doors up. Sometimes resorts and humid tropic environments, I feel like you can open the doors and instantly things get like wet and like misty and gross, or the aircon turns off, or here it's like the aircon just keeps running, but it doesn't like affect it.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, overall it was fantastic. I would say maybe a 4.5 out of 5. Yeah. I would say not perfect, but pretty close. Yeah. Right? I said no complaints. Loved it. Yeah. Right?
For sure. So the next thing we want to talk about is the resort amenities as a whole. There's a couple of things we can talk about here. One, kind of segueing from talking about our villa, the amount of free things they give you is kind of absurd. So in our room alone, we had, there's 2 vanities in the bathroom. Each one had a box of like toothbrush and toothpaste and like a little vanity kit of like Q-tips and that kind of thing, a comb, a toothbrush. I said toothbrush. Yeah. There was like 10 things in there.
I think there was like a shaving.
Oh, shaving kit. That was the other thing. There was a shaving kit. That was in the bathroom. The bathroom, the toilet room did have female sanitary products. If you need those, they had those in there. That was fantastic to see. The closets came with 2 umbrellas because you are going to need them, and a beach bag that we could borrow.
That was amazing because we forgot to bring a beach bag when we went on our beach vacation. We were like, oh, we're idiots. And
then they had one for us.
And there was one just in the closet. Yeah. So it was perfect.
There's 2 bathrobes, slippers for both people, flip-flops for both people in case you come on your beach vacation and forget flip-flops. I've seen people wearing them around the resort. Yeah. Shoe polish and a shoe brush. Yeah. What? There is laundry facilities. So there's a laundry bag that you can put your laundry in. They'll take it for you. We also got, I think because we are gold members, we did get a free bottle of wine. We've also gotten some sort of like treat almost every single night.
When we arrived, it was sort of a plate of assorted treats, like little
coconut, little
coconut.
things.
Yeah, it was like a half coconut with some treats in it.
Yeah.
Then it was, I think the next night we got a couple of macarons in like a cool little box, and then I think last night we also got like some little meringues.
We got,
I would say maybe like 4 out of the 5 nights we had a little treat, which is cool.
We also said we were celebrating our anniversary while we were here, so they decorated our bed with like a little happy anniversary thing with like palm fronds, and we got a cake.
Yes,
that was really
cool. A cute little chocolate cake, which we
breakfast.
appreciated all of these little treats because we had them for breakfast the next day because we were doing an all-inclusive package, and we decided not to do breakfast because you could choose, like, I think the all-inclusive includes lunch and dinner, and then you had to pay something absurd like $60 for breakfast, and we're like, we don't need that food because we're eating so much. So we would just have the little treat as our breakfast in the morning with a coffee, which is nice.
The other cool thing about this room, there's the usual coffee and tea that's included, and then staying hydrated here is a premium. It's hot, it's humid. If you don't have an all-inclusive package and you want water, it's going to be super expensive to get it from the restaurants and bars. But our room at all times has 6 bottles of water, 2 really large ones, and then 1 smaller ones on either side of the bed. And then 1 on each vanity in the bathroom.
And they're replenished whenever you want. We didn't have to ask us it's enough, but like every time they made up the room or did turn down service, they would replace them. So there was always water, which is fantastic.
Plenty of water. I would recommend bringing liquid IV just to make sure you are getting those electrolytes and things, so you're not getting super hydrated. But tons of water. So that is all the amenities just in the room, and I didn't even get to like pool towels and stuff. So let's talk about the resort, the wider resort, and the amenities there.
Yeah, I think like the resort itself has pretty much everything you would need. As I said, there's how many restaurants? 5 restaurants, I think it is. There's a handful of bars. So there's always stuff where you need it. There's one main pool. There's another adults only pool on the other side. So and in addition to everyone having their own pool, so if you want a pool, there's always one, which is great. And then there's a whole host of beach sport things. The sport things?
Sports things.
So like windsurfing and but then there's all things like that, and like jet skis if you want to rent them,
paddle boards and all that kind of stuff.
I would say like the only thing I think that this resort does miss is a sort of a dedicated large house reef. Yes. So if like snorkeling and sort of that is a huge part of why you're coming here, I would say this might not be the perfect option. There's definitely crystal clear water that you can swim in, and it's lovely. Yeah. But I think if you're really wanting like a great reef, this maybe another resort might be better.
That being said, from our back deck, I did see a stingray, multiple sharks, a big blue fish that was like this big. I have no idea what it was, but it was really cool, and a sea turtle. So like you're still gonna see plenty of things.
And you can, for every guest for free, can go to a desk. They'll give you snorkel equipment for free. You don't need to like return it every day and like hand it back in. You can just keep it for your entire stay, and you can like leave it in your room at the end, and like the butler will just take it back. So that's really handy. They also had scuba stuff too, so I presume they would take you somewhere for that.
Yeah, you can sign up for scuba excursions if that's your thing.
Yeah.
While we're talking about water related things, one thing that I thought was such a nice touch was yesterday we were hanging out at the pool. It was the first day we had sun. It was really the only day we had sun. We immediately burst into flames. But we were laying by the pool and we'd already ordered drinks. But the bartender came around and brought us glasses of ice water, and also on a little tray. And on it was like a little travel-sized bottle of like that Evian like spritz like face mist water, which is one of my all-time favorite beauty products. But just to have that brought to you because you are sitting out and it's hot was I thought such a fabulous little touch. much.
Yeah, but I think everything. Yeah, I think overall amenities, I'd say maybe like a 4 out of 5 is like what I'd say.
Yeah.
It's great. It does everything you needed to do for this sort of vacation. But yeah, I'd say it loses a point maybe just for like not having a huge like house reef. Now let's move on to one of our favorite parts, and probably everyone's favorite thing is the restaurants. There's not much else to do on an island like this. You're relaxing, you're swimming, and then you really look forward to these meals. I think that's what we found ourselves.
It's like the highlight of the day.
And we went to 3 of the restaurants, these were all ones that were included in the all-inclusive package. The other 2 were sort of extra additional card restaurants. So I would say let's start with the 2 that are only open for lunchtime.
Let's start with Kashi.
Yeah, Kashi. So Kashi is the Thai restaurant, and it is in a treehouse.
Yeah, it gets points for ambiance.
Yeah, it's fantastic. We were really excited about going to Kashi purely because of the atmosphere, the location, and it lived up to that. Like we went there, and it unfortunately a storm happened, and it was windy and torrential rain. But we were moved, and we didn't get wet. Some other people weren't as lucky. No. But I would say this didn't quite live up to. It was good. But I think when we talk about some of the other restaurants in a second, it will be clear. I think in comparison to, in particular, Ayla, this wasn't as strong because Ayla had a bit of everything and also had sort of like Asian cuisine. Mm-hmm. But I would say this was probably our least favorite of the restaurants. Yeah. But I would definitely recommend going there still for, getting some cool photos and video and stuff like that. Yeah. It was a really cool place. I would say maybe a 3.5 out of 5 for this restaurant.
And part of what's docking it for me, my starter was like a steak salad, and that was lovely. And then I got shrimp pad thai, which pretty classic. I think this might be partially because the storm hit and staff had to scramble a little bit. The shrimp weren't fully cooked all the way, which is kind of gross. And there were only 2, which considering kind of what we'll describe when we get to Ayla, only having 2 shrimp and a shrimp pad thai was a little surprising.
Yeah, so not our favorite, like definitely still worth going to. I think it's great. Like we could have just been a little unlucky in the meals we picked. But I think, that's probably the lowest out of the 3 for us. The next one is Fiamma.
Yes.
Which is the Italian restaurant.
Yes.
And this one is right by the main pool. So super convenient. Yeah. And also it's right next to the bigger restaurant Ayla as well. So you can kind of make up your mind on the spot if you want to eat here or at the other one.
If there is inclement weather, but you still want to eat Fiamma food for lunch, they will serve it to you in Ayla. So you can sit inside. So that is an option.
So this was also a lunch only restaurant. So this was, more standard fare, I would say here. So it was like Caesar salads, which were great, but you could get it with chicken or prawns. There was like a burrata. There was really good. I think you could also get like a charcuterie plate.
Yes.
So the starters were really good. The mains were traditional, sort of like you could either get pizza, which we didn't get, but we both got, I think, every pasta dish on the menu. Yes. And they were great, like fresh pasta, freshly made pasta. I also got this cool panini that was a Wagyu beef meatballs on it, which was awesome. This was a good, really solid good restaurant for lunch. I think I'd probably give it like a 4 or 4.5 out of 5. It's not quite perfect, but it does what it needs to do for a lunch meal, especially if you've been kind of eating. Like a lot of the other restaurants are more sort of Asian cuisine or Indian food, or it's sort of more that if you're just like, oh man, I just feel like a plate of pasta. This was the place to hit the spot.
I will also add that we ate there twice, and I don't know if this is related to the weather or what, but both times the pizza oven was not working. Yeah, but I did see other people get pizza on other days, so I think we might have just wasn't what we were looking to have anyway. I'm a bit of a pizza snob. I'm too picky, so. Yeah, but just a heads up.
If it's
apparently it is an outdoor pizza oven.
So I think if the weather is a little bad, I think because the wind, we've had so much wind here, I'm sure that
something was damaged,
or it could blow in, or throw off the fire or something that's in there. Let's go on to the main event, and this was our favorite restaurant, and just straight out of the gate, I'm going to say it's 5 out of 5. It's perfect. Yep. So this restaurant, everything from the amount of options on their menu, just that alone I think was impressive. They had they had sort of Southeast Asian cuisine.
They had Western cuisine. They had pasta. They had tons of vegetarian options.
Yeah.
A wide array of starters.
Yeah.
And
the desserts were next level. If you like a dessert with some good presentation, I'll pop some pictures up on the screen because these were like artworks. But yeah, every meal, I don't think we had a bad meal here.
I don't think we did.
Like every night we had dinner here every night. We also had lunch. So you can go to lunch here every day as well. So you could work through most of their menu, which we did. I think we had pretty much a few different things. We repeated a couple of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, the food here was just fantastic. Very large portions.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like we had lower expectations for the food in the Maldives purely because like it's so expensive that we were like, it's isolated. Maybe they wouldn't have the best ingredients. They're probably just charging a lot. And because they can, like we're trapped on an island, right? But it was some of the best food I've ever had.
I also was a little hesitant just because generally when you see a menu that's got that wide range of different kind of cuisines, it can be really hit or miss. Like they might do one kind of thing really well, and then another thing is like, yikes. If you've ever been to a place that does like sushi and burgers, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And they just, every single thing was perfect.
Yeah.
Like,
and I think this easily segues into the next part. Another part of how good it was the service here. And let's segue into that.
Let's talk about the service.
Let's start with the service at the restaurants. I think that's an easy way while we're talking about restaurants.
Sounds good.
It was impeccable, like at the restaurant. So it was, it felt somewhat like it was not a stuffy vibe. Like it was smart casual. Like you could wear whatever you want. It's a beach location. You could dress up, you could dress down, but the service was always very like friendly but formal. So like it's
warm. It's very warm.
Yeah. They were spot on. They did the exact sort of way they were meant to serve, like in a high dining restaurant, right? But they were super friendly and attentive every time. Like you would and every day you walked in, they would greet you, like they remember you, but not in a forced way. Like they would remember like what your favorite dessert was on the menu, or like how if you've had this other meal before.
So it's the classic, like you come in, they pull out your chair, they put the napkin on your lap. They're gonna have multiple silverware settings. So it's got that like high-end dining. Yeah. But the service is so warm and so friendly. They knew and when we say this, it's not like we're talking about one or two servers. It's probably about a dozen staff. Knew who we were, knew our preferences. I don't know how they do it. I don't know if they
would remember if I had a margarita one night and the server was like, would you like another margarita? Like it was like they just remember like the smallest details. Yeah, and it just makes it really cool.
They always offer sparkling or still water. They all learn pretty quickly. We're still water people. It was
amazing. And I think we should also address, there was one moment last night. It was our final dinner, and many of the staff will often come up and just ask you like, hey, how's your day been, or how's the food? And we had the general manager of the entire resort came around. He was just doing the rounds, like talking to people, and he asked us like, how's your stay been? Like, how was the food been? And we told him like, this has been perfect. Like it's been like, especially at this restaurant, we love it. Everything's been great. Everything's been perfect. And he seemed genuinely really happy that was what we thought. And we saw him, he went over to the manager of the restaurant, said a few words. Yeah. And then a few minutes later, a server came with a bottle of champagne.
Yeah, it was
very expensive.
DeVoe Grand Reserve champagne. Yeah. And just poured a couple glasses
and he was like, this is from... And then they told us after, this was the general manager just wanted to give this to a glass of this, just for being... We think it was just because we were very nice. We were just nice. Always...
They were very... It seemed like they're very concerned because people come here expecting a certain environment weather-wise, and we did not get that. I think they were expecting us
to be mad
about it, and we were like, no, we knew what we signed up for. This is, everything else is more than made up for that. Yeah. And it was such the perfect what's the word I'm looking for? Like just icing on the cake of like incredible service.
For sure. And then I think like outside of the restaurant, I think the main one we talk about is like there's just general staff.
Yeah.
There's the general staff that are like always out
Yeah.
sort of raking the raking the sand on the beach and on
like
the paths.
Cleaning up the paths from all the debris.
They're just like there, but every single one of them, this was a really cool like touch, is they'll put their hand on their heart as you walk past. And just like either nod or just say
like
hello or good morning.
Yeah.
And it just felt like really sweet and like just really like, I don't know. It was just,
I feel like everybody greeted each other that way. The world would probably be a little easier. It was just very warm.
But yeah, so those sort of behind the scenes staff I think were fantastic. And then I think the one we have to also talk about is the sort of butler service that you get, every room gets. Thakuru, is that that's what the Maldivian sort of word for it is? They were great. Well, we were actually a little nervous about having a butler. We are not butler people. We are like, we like to do things on our own. Like we're happy to, like in most hotels, like we're fine to carry our bags up the stairs and like we're fine to walk somewhere instead of being like chauffeured somewhere, right? So we were kind of hesitant to be like, will we even use this person? Like, is it going to be awkward? Are they going to be annoying or bothersome to our like vacation? But I would say like, and I think that's the good thing is they all seem to be very adaptive to what your needs are as a guest. So we're low maintenance. The most intricate thing we had was to ask them to come and fix, like the power that flipped. And that was done instantly. Then the only other thing we really needed to get done was just getting like a golf cart ride while the weather was bad. Yeah. So like we generally walked around, but sometimes, there's a monsoon pouring down on us. So we would just...
He one time appeared out of nowhere as we were caught in the monsoon. It was like, do you need a ride?
Get back to the room. Yeah. And I don't think we said this earlier, but you get their details for WhatsApp on your phone. Yeah. So all you have to do is text them like whenever you want. Like we texted him at 6 a.m. one morning when the outlets went out. And he was pretty responsive. It was like maybe 10 minutes and then he got back to us and sent someone. It's super easy and you can just do that at dinner, right? You can be like, oh, we're just like finishing dessert. Like, can we get a ride back to the room? And he'll show up.
He'll just magically appear. His name is our Thekuru was Gassim. He was incredible. Yeah. Just super nice guy. We didn't have very many needs, but he met all of them.
Yeah. Another little touch was too like because like to get out of here, you have to get a seaplane out, which we're about to do this afternoon. Yeah. One of those things, like we had this experience. We've been to a Sandals before where it was a similar thing where you had like people always serving and like they kept the details very minimal, right? And we were stressed that like, oh, we need to get our plane in the morning. Like, how are we going to get to the airport? They didn't tell us like all that stuff. Really but here, last night, like Gassim just came up to us at dinner and was like, oh, just letting you know, like within an hour, I'll text you the details for your seaplane tomorrow. Yeah. And sure enough, when we checked our phones when we got back to the room, there was a message from Gassim, and it had like a proper like PDF letter that said, it was actually really great. Our flight isn't until 7 p.m. tonight. So we were like, oh, hopefully we can get like a late checkout. Yeah. And one of the perks of being a gold Marriott Bonvoy member is you can request a 2 p.m. checkout, but it doesn't always mean you'll get it. It's variable. Yeah. So and I don't know if they would do this if you weren't a gold member too. They could. I think it just depends on the seaplane itineraries. But he was like, okay, so you've got a 2 p.m. checkout. Your seaplane's going to be at 3. I'll come to your room like around like just before 2 or something and like help check you out and get like your bags and all that stuff. So that like as someone that's sort of we love traveling, and me in particular, I like to be very planned with my travel. Yeah. I don't like leaving things to last minute, like details. So the fact that he sort of prepared us with that the night before was really reassuring. Yeah. And helped us then to also get a whole extra kind of like half a day here, which is fantastic.
And one of the things that was really cool about that is I was like, okay, well, we're here till 3. Can we get lunch? And will it be included on our all-inclusive? Because I'm thinking of particularly if you're on a cruise, basically everything shuts off that morning.
Yeah, you can't get drinks.
You might get breakfast if you're lucky.
Maybe, or something, right?
So I was kind of expecting him to be like, no, you stayed here for 5 nights. No.
That was all you're allotted to have? No. He was like, as
long as you're on the island, your package works.
So
which is incredible.
That's actually a little like hack, I think, for coming here and getting an all-inclusive package is if you can schedule yourself an early morning flight in, a late flight out, you can essentially get 2 additional lunches.
Yes.
Which is not cheap. That's several $100s. Like if you're really getting multi-course like meals. So I think just in general, like let's a little overview of the service. It's first class. It was 5 out of 5, more than 5 out of 5.
Yeah, we've done tons of cruises. We've stayed at a Sandals, which had actually some of the worst service we've ever had.
Yeah.
We've stayed at other Marriott and Hilton properties, and this was the best service I have ever experienced
100%.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
5 out of 5,
Definitely.
no notes.
Yeah. And I think in particular, the service is what made what could have been an unpleasant trip due to the weather. Like, I think if we had bad service, it would have ruined the vacation, compiled with the weather and things like that. It could have been miserable, right? If the service wasn't good. And the service literally made up for anything that could go wrong. And not many things did go wrong, except for like some wind and rain. But and I think you could have probably worse things happen, and the service would make up for it. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's a real tip, like, that's a big deal, and I think they get it like spot on.
Yeah. Okay.
And
sorry, I have a question for you. Okay. So we've talked about the arrival, the villa, the amenities, restaurant service, all the things.
Yeah.
Okay. Overall of everything, what was your favorite thing?
My favorite thing.
I did not prep him for this.
You didn't? No, I'm on the spot. I think like that was, we talked about this before we came, is like I've had expectations for the Maldives. Like it's a bucket list item. Yeah. It's there. But I think my only thing on the bucket list was to be in the Maldives. Like to get that like seaplane and see the water and the islands and get here. And I think that lived up to it. Yeah. I think it's just just being here. And I don't think I've ever been more relaxed.
No.
This was the pinnacle of relaxation. And I think the fact that you could just like, even if the weather's bad, a room like this, that where you can look out and just see like the ocean, that's my favorite thing. Is just being here and being like, regardless of what the weather is like and things like that, you could just be pure relaxation. There's like, we often even like had jet lag, and like I would wake up at 1:30 a.m.
Yeah, our sleep schedule here is
right. I would wake up at 1:30 in the morning, but I would just sit up and look at like, even in the dark, like there's some little subtle lights out here that like make the pool light up, and it's just so pretty.
Okay, what was your favorite meal?
That's pretty easy. I would say Ayla, of course, but the nasi goreng, which is like like a fried rice, a Southeast Asian fried rice, 100% my favorite. And then dessert would be, I think also at Ayla there was this mango passion fruit. I don't even know what it was, but I love mango, and they got it spot on. So that was mine. What about you?
What about me? What?
Oh, so. Meal or thing? Favorite thing? What is your favorite thing about the trip?
I think this is a really silly little thing. I'm a customer service person. Like in my real-time life, like that is my career. And so it's something I really value really highly. And just that little touch of the water with the Evian bottle by the pool. I know that's a really silly thing, but it was just like that little notch above
what was necessary.
Yeah. It was such a fabulous little touch, and they did it for everybody. Yeah. I thought about saying the champagne last night, but I think the fact that that is clearly part of their routine is just such a fabulous little touch, and I think I was just like so surprised by that. So I know that's silly, but I was just impressed by that. And food,
favorite meal, Oh
my god, don't do this to me. No.
The risotto.
It might be the risotto. There was a mushroom risotto at Ayla that is I'm pretty sure the Parmigiano cheese on that is aged like 4 years. You like feel like the crackling of it in your mouth. It was extremely rich. I might have it for lunch. Yeah,
awesome.
Best risotto I've ever had. Yeah.
Great. So that's about it. But yeah, let's give like an overall rating for everything, and I would say 4.75.
Yeah.
Almost perfect.
Almost perfect.
Like very close to perfect. In many ways, it is perfect.
Yeah. That's being us being so unbelievably
And I think if we were here and the weather was perfect, it'd probably be 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
Like I think that would probably elevate everything a little more.
Yeah.
Because
then we would have had a better experience at Kashi.
Yeah. I think, exactly. And that was probably the only detractor in points. So I think, almost perfect. 100% would recommend. I'd come here again.
Absolutely.
It is like, booking a Maldives vacation is no sort of, not something you take lightly. Like there's a lot, you need to pick the right thing because it could be a once in a lifetime thing.
And I want to add, I think we briefly mentioned this in our tour video of the resort. This is not the original resort we booked.
That's true.
We originally booked the JW Maldives. And about 2 months ago, we got an email from them saying that they were actually going to be renovating the entire resort during our reservation. So they moved us to here. So we did not actually pick this resort.
Yeah. And like we did have an option to sort of cancel if we wanted, but we're like, no, we've like booked flights and we want to go somewhere. So we looked it up and we're like, this looks great. Yeah. And I think that's what actually makes this even more special is that we didn't actually pick this place. And it exceeded sort of our expectations.
Yeah, because we were torn between this and W, and we picked W and actually wound up here.
Yeah.
So the fact that they were kind of having to come in from behind, and they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah. So I think that wraps this up. I think this was a fantastic trip. It lived up to sort of all our expectations and exceeded it in many ways. And I would highly recommend staying at the JW Marriott Maldives.
Absolutely, right? Especially now that the sun.
The sun's coming out right when we're leaving. So, thank you so much for watching. If you like this content, just hit that thumbs up and subscribe. If you want to keep seeing some other videos, we're probably releasing a whole bunch of Maldives ones, so we'll put them like in links and stuff. But thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Seaplane flying overhead.
Waiting for the seaplane. Do-do-do.
It's taken off. I think we're okay.
We don't always going to start a video, but when we do, there's a seaplane.